ceremony, which he produces, which is a great show and a great thing that he does. And I want to congratulate you, Phil. Please join me in congratulating Phil, because he's being presented, I've got it written down, with the Howie Richmond Hitmaker Award this year. So, Frank engineered and produced 1998's Best Engineered Recording winner, James Taylor's Hourglass, but also works with artists like Korn. Frank has also worked with Barbra Streisand and Kiss. I love the contrast. That's what as well as Foreigner and Carly Simon. Jimmy Douglas, at the far end, who flew in from California, and boy, are his arms tired just now, was a staff engineer at Atlantic Records in the 1970s, working with a huge variety of acts, not limited to Slave and Foreigner, actually. Also with the variety again. He worked with my father on countless records with many artists ranging from John Prine to Hall & Oates. He continues to be one of the most sought-after producer engineers, innovative producer engineers, working with people like producers and artists like Timberland, Missy Elliott, and Justin Timberlake. Michael O'Reilly also started at Atlantic in 1975. There you are. Sorry?
76.
Oh, sorry, 76. Sorry. I was a kid. What do I know?
What do I know?
What do I know today? Aside from the countless records that Michael consummately engineered for Arif Mardin, for my father, with artists like Aretha and Bet and Shaka and Jewel, and cast albums for Rent and the Grammy-winning Smokey Joe's Cafe cast album. Michael has also worked with Whitney Houston, Modest Yahoo, and West Lonely Boys. Gentleman next to him has produced records for Eric Clapton, Stevie Winwood, Shaka Khan, Brian Wilson, Randy Newman, Ricky Lee Jones. Need I say anything more about Grammy-winning producer and dear friend, Russ Titleman? You got applause. No one else got applause. Let's see, where was I? Last but not least, I haven't talked about Phil, who's basically produced everybody. You know that already. But last but not least is Doug Barrow again, my co-producer and co-director of The Greatest Years in Town. Doug made a fantastic film about Herbie Hancock and Album called Possibilities. Really a great film, musical film, nuts and bolts music and a lot of heart. But Doug has also produced episodes for A&E's Watching the Detectives. He made a great film called On Chesil Beach, which is about Ian McEwan. He's directed things for the New York Philharmonic. Very accomplished producer and director. Thank you, Doug, also for everything you did on the film. And our illustrious panel. So I thought I would ask you guys each, and I'd like to start with Phil, and I'll extend the same question to all of you, but when was the first time that you encountered, met Arif, either professionally or musically, just hearing, or some combination of the two? And I'd like to start with Phil.
It's very easy for me to remember. In the film, Arif mentions a mutual friend, Tom Dowd, who is not only a mentor to Arif, but to me. I wouldn't have half of what I know if it wasn't for him. And he brought Arif to the studio. A&R Studios, in the earliest version of A&R, started in 1959. And I was 4. But I saw Arif at a couple of the dates that Tom and I were doing. We were doing stuff from this, we were doing a lot more jazz. And then I started to meet him as the world of R&B became, you know, the Genius of Ray Charles was recorded. I was the T-boy on that, I swear to you. And Arif was around later, in 64 or 5 is when I first met him. And all of you know how charming he was, but more importantly, when he extended his hand out to me, it was because I was the young sort of engineer learning my trade at the studio. And what impressed me more than anything was the relationship we had with Tommy, with Quincy. All of the people who you see in this film are as genuine as Arif. And I never forgot it. It became a great lovingly about your dad. I mean it.
I came a little late to the party. I knew Arif from the studio, and I worked at Right Track Recording, and but I produced a bunch of Carly Simon records, and we decided to do a record, film noir, of film soundtracks Carly wanted to do. And my first working relationship with Arif was on that album, which was a difficult situation for me because I was producing, Arif was the arranger, came in as the arranger, and you also arranged a couple tracks on that record. The intimidation factor of walking in and having someone like Arif in the production capacity was a little unsettling to me at first, but he just was so gracious, and it never even became an issue. The only issue I remember is, I remember when I finished mixing one of the songs, Arif, in his incredibly gentlemanly manner, wrote me a note saying, I really like the mix, but if you could bring the hi-hat up to at least the level of audibility would be nice. Which I did, it did make quite a difference, but he was absolutely right. And the other thing that I guess as we talk, I'll talk a little later about the Streisand record, which was quite a record, and we really had fun doing it. But the main one of the things that I'll always remember is I was working on a session one day, and Arif and I both had brand new BMW 7 Series. He had just gotten his 7, and I'd had mine a couple of months. And we'd talk about it occasionally, and one day I'm in session, and I get a phone call from Arif Mardin, and I was saying, oh, wow, this is, maybe he wants me to do something or whatever. He calls me up and he says, so I'm driving my BMW by the apartment, but it says I'm already here. The navigation says I'm already here, but I'm not there yet. And I said, so I spent the next 10 or 15 minutes explaining to him how the GPS works, where, the government kind of keeps it from getting too accurate because they don't want to. And he was absolutely happy with that. And he says, oh, great, so there's nothing wrong.